which they say could wipe out half of the world's beaches within a century. Well, let's talk now to our correspondent Ryan Thompson in northwest France. Ryan, what real outcomes, if any, can we expect from this summit?
Hi there, Jamie. Well, we talk a lot about climate change, notably what to do about all the waste that is produced, how to make energy greener. But the question of oceans is so important, and it's often not discussed enough because it is a key part of this climate change discussion. I mean, just look at the data. 70% of the Earth's surfaces are oceans, and that's why France is going so big on this, gathering the world's leaders here in the western French city of Brest to really go big on it. And three of the big changes to come out of today of this Brest commitments is the question of biodiversity, getting countries to step up and protect endangered species, really crack down on illegal fishing, clean up the plastic that is in the ocean. But there is a fourth issue that was not talked about in depth today, and that is rising sea levels, which could really pose a severe threat in the next few decades.
These seabirds depend on tides staying where they are. It allows them to dig for food deep below the sand. But if water levels along France's Atlantic coast get any higher, they could soon be out of luck when it's time for lunch.
If there is a break in the food chain because of rising water levels and stronger salinization, there is a huge knock-on effect, a disruption across the food chain. There's less space for these birds to feed themselves and they have to look elsewhere.
This is just one small example of the dangers of higher ocean levels as a result of rising global temperatures. Coastal communities across the world are at risk, and some predict that half of all beaches could disappear, with the effects of erosion set to become more severe. Scientists like Virginie Antoine are closely monitoring the troubling trend in the French region of Brittany.
Beaches are going to disappear, that's for sure. Islands large and small are going to be wiped out. Here in Brittany, Ussant Island is a perfect example because even though we've put up a wall to control the ocean level, it's going to disappear.
Water levels on the beaches of Brittany have been recorded since the early 18th century. Initially, the water rise was slow, with only about 30 centimeters added in the first 300 years of recording. But in the last 2 decades, things have sped up dramatically. And scientists now say the worst of it is yet to come.
The warnings are severe, but vary based on how high air temperatures rise. In the best-case scenario, ocean levels on France's western coast would rise 39 centimeters by 2080. But if temperatures exceed 1.5 degrees, water levels would be far higher, possibly up to 92 centimeters. 20 years after that, the worst-case situation could mean water levels are 1 meter higher than they are today, washing out many beaches for good. Not far from Brittany's coastline, world leaders and top scientists have gathered in the city of Brest for the One Ocean Summit determined to save the sea.
The year 2022 will be decisive. So in Brest today, we need to commit and make firm and clear pledges. This concerns all of us. I will do this on behalf of France, and Europe has a role to play as well.
More than 80 countries have agreed to the Brest commitments for the ocean, a pact that calls for protecting biodiversity with more protected areas, this time international waters. Leaders also want to crack down on illegal fishing and plastic pollution. While activists say it's a good start, they'd like to see more definite policies.
Talking about it, that's good. Meeting about it, that's good. But taking bold political action that looks deep into the future, 10, 20 or 30 years down the line, and not at the next round of elections, we really hope that our leaders are going to take that route.
But even with aggressive political willpower, it will be near impossible to save Brittany's coastline. The region's well-loved beaches are expected to be yet another victim of climate change.
Now, Jamie, we should underscore here that the document that countries signed on to today was just a list of commitments. It wasn't legally binding like some of the other climate treaties we've seen before. The big question, well, what will happen in March when the UN Global Ocean Treaty comes up for debate at the UN in New York, and whether countries will be able to commit to such firm action with the legal line at that point.
Ryan, thanks for that. Ryan Thompson, our correspondent in France.